Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to AMC Mailbag, the mailbag installment here at AMC Movie News. My name is John Campea. I'm the editor-in-chief of AMC Movie News, and I am so glad you decided to join me today. You know, on this show, all we do is take mailbag questions, and as a result of that, we kind of have a very laid-back feel. This is a much more informal show. We'll talk a little bit about some behind-the-scenes stuff at AMC Movie News and talk more casually and get into some movie stuff. And I want to let you know, I was going to have Dennis Zen on the show with me today. He was all reared up to do the show. But what happened is that I'm pre-recording this AMC mailbag on Friday, even though it's going up on Saturday. And we just had one hell of a day. It was a good day, but it was just a really busy day. We started this morning at 6 a.m. That's when every day starts for us, is at 6 when we start writing and putting the show together, AMC Movie Talk for that day. And then we actually are in studio and start shooting at 11. Get out of there around 11:45, 12 o'clock. And then from there, Ray and I had to run off and get the show chopped up into its individual segments and uploaded. Then we all met over at our AMC Burbank 16 studio where we had to do our spoilers review today. We did our Spider-Man 2 spoilers review today. So it was me, Dennis, Amy Rose, Christian Harloff, and we were joined by special guest Tiffany Smith today. And you might recognize Tiffany. She's from like DC Online and Fandango, and she does stuff with Schmoes Knows with Christian Harloff and Mark Ellis. So she came and joined us for our spoilers review of Spider-Man 2 today, which was a lot of fun. And then Dennis had to take that and he had to go and get that file prepared while Ray and I went and got some other stuff ready. And then we just realized, you know what, there's not enough time. Dennis can't get over here in time. We can't do the show together. So it's going to be just me today. So I hope you're okay with that. But we had a really good day today. It was a really good day, very busy, but it's kind of nice. I've been looking forward to, in the midst of this crazy hectic day, to just doing mailbag, because mailbag is it's just so much easier than the other ones. I just get to sit down here and, unload everything about, what's going on for the day. So that's what's going on today. So anyway, like I said before, this is our mailbag installment where all we do is take your mailbag questions. And I got 6 mailbag questions today lined up that we're going to get to here. And I want to encourage you too, since you're seeing this on Saturday, in all likelihood, we put up our AMC spoilers review of The Amazing Spider-Man 2 last night. So if you haven't checked it out, go check out our Amazing Spider-Man 2 spoilers review. We had a lot of fun doing that. A little bit of insight into our review. I think it's fair to say that all 5 of us generally like the movie, but at the same time, all 5 of us found some pretty major problems with it. I mean, overall, we liked it, and we were glad we saw it. I've seen it multiple times actually already, but it's not, in my opinion, not as good as the first Amazing Spider-Man. That's just my opinion. But anyway, go watch that spoilers review. It was a lot of fun. It's like 40 minutes long, and we had a good time doing it. You should go check it out. I also want to let you know that 2 other shows are starting this weekend that I'm really excited about. Both are going to be done here from Studio B. So they're going to be very simple shows, but I'm really looking forward to them. One of them is a show we've had a request for from a lot of people in the past year. And that's like a end of the week summary show. And so what we are launching, that you'll be able to find on YouTube tonight, is a new weekly show called AMC Movie News Top 5. And what that show basically is me and 1 or 2 other guests. And what we do is we count down the top 5 news stories of the week. Because every day on AMC Movie News, we do 5, 6, 7 movie news stories of the day. But we want to get to the end of the week and then count down what we consider to be the top 5 movie news stories of the week. And then, talk a little bit about each story. And I'm really looking forward to doing that. I think it's going to be a really fun way to end the week. But the other show that we are doing, and we're doing it on a limited basis, we're going to start with a 4-week special series. And we've called it AMC Jedi Council. And AMC Jedi Council, I'm going to see if I can find a graphic of this around here somewhere. AMC Jedi Council is a show that's just Star Wars. It's just Star Wars. And actually, yeah, there's our graphic there. I'm going to pull this up here so you can take a look at it. So we are all big Star Wars fanatics. And, Christian Harloff, he hosts a podcast called Far, Far Away, which is a Star Wars podcast. Myself, I am a lifetime longtime live, breathe, bleed, sleep Star Wars fanatic. And then also joining us for AMC Jedi Council is a friend of mine, an old friend of mine named Paul Enns, who was one of the guys who ran the most popular fan site in the history of the internet, basically called theforce.net. And he was then hired by Lucasfilm to go and run all their online properties. So he was the director of Lucas Online for a lot of years. And now he is the co-founder of Red 5 Comics. His name's Paul Enns. He's going to be joining us. And if that wasn't enough of Star Wars Massive Geekdom, we're also being joined by the director of that film, Fanboys, Kyle Newman, who's also got another film coming out later this year called Barely Lethal with Haley Steinfeld, with Samuel L. Jackson, Jamie King, Jessica Alba. Anyway, that film looks really good too. But anyway, Kyle Newman is going to be here in Studio B with us. And Paul's going to be joining us via Skype because he lives in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. And it's Jedi Council. For 4 weeks, we're going to do this show just talking about Star Wars movies, talking about the news on the new films and stuff like that and our perspective on it. And it's going to be great. So if you are a Star Wars fan, please join us. I'm going to let you know, too, we're going to be taking questions as well from you guys. So if you would like to have a question brought up, a topic or a question brought up on our new AMC Jedi Council show, you can tweet to us. Use the hashtag. So tweet your question and put in it the hashtag AMC Jedi Council. Hashtag AMC Jedi Council. And we're going to take some time in that show to pull a bunch of those tweets and address your topics and your questions as well. And we're just going to geek out as Star Wars fans. So I'm super pumped about that. I'm really excited. I can't wait for us to get going on that. And you know, we're saying it's a 4-week series, but you know what? If we have a really fun time doing it, and if you guys are watching it and you like it, then maybe we'll make it an ongoing series. Who knows? We'll see how it goes. But anyway, this is Mailbag. It's time for us to get to the mailbag questions. So let's start with question number 1. And the first question today comes to us from Dino Falabrino. Dino Falabrino. There we go. I'm Italian. I should be able to say that well. Anyway, he writes, "Hey, AMC Mover Crew. I love the show. John Campea is the man." Thank you, Dino. I was wondering, do you think someone will ever make a Stan Lee biopic? Honestly, Dino, I don't know that I've ever thought of it, but it would almost seem stupid not to. I mean, when it comes to pop culture, I mean, how many guys have had more influence on our pop culture, whether they know who Stan Lee is or not? How many guys have had as much influence in our pop culture than Stan Lee? Not a lot. I mean, that would be a short list that you could come up with. And his story is fascinating. The story of Stan, when you actually read some of the stuff on him, it's some really interesting stuff. And the nice thing, too, is that the story of Stan Lee, and this is why I would personally really like a Stan Lee biopic now, because he, not only is he still alive, he's alive and kicking, and he's still working. He's still developing. He's still creating. He's still being Stan Lee. And the story of Stan Lee is not done. And so, I mean, yeah, obviously, if you're going to do a Stan Lee biopic, you make the focus on the creation. You probably pick 1 or 2 titles to really focus on. And I don't want to start a holy war debate over which 1 or 2 of those titles should be. But say, focus on 1 or 2 of those titles. And then what you do is you build a story around that and you focus on that, and probably not so much in modern time. But I got to tell you, considering the stuff he's created, the influence that he's had, and the fact that he's still ongoing, I think it'd be foolish not to, quite frankly. Quite frankly, I think it'd be foolish not to. It's funny, because even though I haven't really thought about it before, now that you bring it up, Dino, I'm wondering, why hasn't there been a Stan Lee biopic yet? Seriously. Considering the popularity of comic book movies in general, and specifically the Marvel-based titles, the fact that there has not been somebody who thought, you know what could make us some money? A Stan Lee biopic telling the story of the creation of all those guys. Now, I don't know. Maybe there's a rights issue. Maybe, I don't know, Warner Brothers has the rights to the life story of Stan Lee, but Marvel won't let them use any references to, Spider-Man or X-Men or Avengers or anything like that. I don't know that that's the case. I'm just making up a scenario here, okay? So I can only guess that the reason there has not been a Stanley biopic yet is because there's got to be a rights issue somewhere along the line. There has to be, because it just seems to make total sense. Dino, I think you were a genius. I think you really nailed something on the head. A Stanley biopic would, I think, attract a lot of attention. I mean, he's incredibly relevant right now. You have this theme of comic book heroes, very popular, and he's got an interesting story. I honestly do not know why they haven't done this yet. All I can assume is that there's a rights issue, but hopefully in some back rooms, in some studios somewhere, there are people planning one, because I think it's a really, really great idea, and I think you're onto something. All right, let's move on now to question number 2. And by the way, guys, if you happen to have heard of anything regarding Stanley or possible biopic or rights issues or anything like that, do me a favor and hop in the comment section and let us know, because we collectively, the Sons of AMC, collectively, all of us, we know a lot more than any one stupid guy. So please, if you know some answers, whatever, hop in the comment section and leave your thoughts. That would be really cool. All right, we move on now to question number 2. And question number 2 is from Kyle Watkins, who writes, "Hey AMC, can't get enough of your show." Thanks so much, Kyle. Really appreciate it. I was wondering, does it help to know about cinematography if you want to be a director? I know it's not needed, and I'm still learning the basics, but I want to know anything about directing and what aspects that can make me a great director. Thanks, and keep up the great work. Well, I mean, Kyle, it can do nothing but help. Understanding cinematography as a director can do nothing but help you as a director. Now, most directors, if you're working on bigger budget films, will have a cinematographer with them to do their cinematography. I took a little shot at making a narrative comedy myself a couple of years ago. It's called The Anniversary. And considering I'm just a guy who had no idea what he was doing and just wanted to, as a film blogger, pseudo-journalist kind of guy, I just wanted to get that experience of being behind the camera so I can better appreciate what the real guys do who do this for a living and give us all these great films. And I had a lot of fun making it. But one of the very first things I did, I swear, if not the first thing I did after finishing writing the script, was I went out when I knew I was going to shoot this movie and I got a real cinematographer. The guy who knows how to shoot what I'm seeing in my head, you know? So while that's true, knowing cinematography can do nothing but help you. And you know, we just saw, you know, Christopher Nolan's cinematographer just directed his first feature film with, so not so good, Transcendence with Johnny Depp, right? That didn't work out so well. But you see, a lot of directors were at one point cinematographers. So yes, having that base, having that understanding, having those fundamentals at your disposal will do nothing but help you. And you'll probably want to start as a cinematographer, maybe even at some point. It's not always the path, and I'm just talking. Actually, John Schnepp would be a really good guy to talk to about this, having directed several very popular television shows. So he would be a good guy to ask that question. But I'm going to go out on a limb and say, look, if you really want to be a director, learn everything you can. Understand acting. Because like I've always believed that the number one fundamental responsibility of the director is getting the best performance out of his actors. So that relationship and understanding your actors is important. So understand acting. Understand editing. Understand cinematography. Understand, because the director is the guy who's in the chair. Everything goes through him or her. They're the ones that are ultimately the ones responsible for the movie. And so the better understanding you can have of everything, the better you will be at your job. So my recommendation is, yeah, study cinematography, study acting, study editing, study all that kind of stuff, because it will do nothing but help you in the long run. Anyway, let's move on to the next question. Thanks a lot for the question. And I'll just take a sip of my water here. The next question comes to us from Veronica Wierbik. And I hope I'm saying your name right, Veronica. And Veronica writes, "Hey AMC, love the show." Thank you, Veronica. "In my opinion, it seems that Warner Brothers doesn't realize that there are other directors out there, not just Zack Snyder. I just feel like all we're getting is Zack Snyder, and I'd rather see WB take the Marvel approach and work with some lesser known, talented directors who can bring something fresh and new to the films. I don't want them to all have the same feel to them, where I feel like I'm just watching the same film, just with a slightly different story or slightly different characters." Thanks a lot for the email, Veronica. I'm going to disagree with you about something. I don't think just because one director works on several films that it's basically the same movie. I mean, you wouldn't say that about Martin Scorsese films, and you wouldn't say that about Steven Spielberg films. You wouldn't say that about Christopher Nolan films. All films are unique in their own way, even when they come from the same filmmaker. But I also believe there's a credit. There's an advantage to be had if you're creating a singular cinematic universe storyline. There's a big advantage to having a consistent feel to it and a consistent tone. There's a big advantage to that. And it makes sense. Not that you have to do it that way. As a matter of fact, you should break it up, but it's certainly not a detriment for 1 or 2, maybe even 3 films to have the same director on board in that environment. I think 3 is stretching it, but that's the way that they've gone. I also want to challenge you a little bit on this idea that Marvel goes with unknown directors. Not really. When you're talking about the likes of Sir Kenneth Branagh, you're talking about Jon Favreau, you're talking about Joss Whedon. These are not unknown directors by any stretch of the imagination, but to your point, they are different directors who all bring different things to the table. And while striving to give one singular tone to an overall universe, bring their own unique flavors as well. And I agree with you. There are some advantages to that. Look, I was actually happy because I loved Man of Steel so much. I was actually happy, and I loved what Zack Snyder did with that film. I was happy that they brought Zack Snyder back to direct Man of Steel 2. That being said, would Zack Snyder be my pick to direct Justice League? And the answer to that question is no. I just believe you shouldn't stick around. If you're a creative person like Zack Snyder, like Sam Raimi, like George Lucas, you shouldn't stick around on one property for too long, because I believe that zaps you, whether you know it or not. We saw it happen with Sam Raimi in the Spider-Man films. Sam Raimi's a genius. He is an excellent director. So explain Spider-Man 3. Well, to me, he just ran out of creative energy because he just on one thing for too long. So I like Zack Snyder as a director. I love what he did with Man of Steel. Happy he's doing Man of Steel 2, but no, he would not have been my pick to direct Justice League. Now, having said that, that's not the same thing as me saying I have a problem with Zack Snyder directing it. I'm okay with it. I mean, it's hard to get either too excited or too down on the idea of Zack Snyder directing Justice League when we haven't seen Man of Steel 2 yet. Now, I loved what he did with Man of Steel 1, but now you're bringing Batman into it. And that's a different movie now. And before I get too excited or too negative about my feelings on Zack Snyder directing the third one, I really want to see how the second one goes. Love what he did with the first. Like a lot of his previous work, not counting Sucker Punch, which is just terrible. But let's see how he does with Man of Steel 2, and then we'll go from there. But personally, I kind of think you're right, Veronica. I think there are probably about 4 or 5 other directors I may have gone to first to change things up a little bit, bring in some fresh blood into the director's chair, and then would have been excited to see what Zack Snyder then went on to do in other films and in other projects. But he decided to come back. Warner Brothers decided they wanted him. So let's see how that turns out. So let's not jump the gun on this. He's done well so far. He's got a positive, proven track record. So let's see. Let's just wait and see a little bit, see how that turns out. All right. The fourth question today comes to us from Bruce Gamer. And Bruce writes, "Hello, I just wanted to ask, will there be another Van Helsing movie? Maybe a reboot or something? What do you guys think?" Well, will there be another Van Helsing movie? Good question. Gosh, I don't know how to answer that, to be honest. I remember some time ago hearing that it might have been Universal was looking at Van Helsing, at maybe redoing, because Universal is starting a new thing right now under, Kurtzman and Ortsy are both contributing to this as well. They're really revisiting now their classic catalog of the classic Hollywood monsters. And, they're working on a Mummy reboot. That'll be different from the one that Brendan Fraser was in. But they're revisiting the Mummy, the classic Mummy. I believe they're going to revisit Wolfman, and they're going to do a lot of that kind of stuff. And I believe I heard at least some point Van Helsing was a part of those conversations. I don't know if that went anywhere, and I don't know off the top of my head if that's actually happening. So I'm not the best guy to offer a real opinion on that right now because I just don't know. I do know this, however. The first Van Helsing with Hugh Jackman was atrocious. Just awful. And I was so excited for that movie, man. I mean, the classic monsters. I loved Hugh Jackman. He's the Wolverine. And you had the girl from Underworld. You had Kate Beckinsale from Underworld. I mean, it just had all the elements there to make, give me a little geek boy stiffy. But and I did. I was super excited about it, and I just thought it was just a terrible train wreck of a film. So it's hard for me, even though it's not fair for me to judge any future Van Helsing movie that I'm sure would be made by a completely different team than made the first one. It's unfair for me to be negative about it, but I can't help it. Like that, the stale stench of that first one is really still on my tongue. I can't get it off. And it kind of sours me to the idea of another Van Helsing movie. But, once it comes out, that goes out the window, right? So if they make one, I'll give it a shot, and hopefully I would like it. But we just won't know until that happens. So the answer to your question is, are they making another one? I don't know. I heard they were developing it, but I don't know if it actually went anywhere. If you guys know any information and have some links to some real information about this, not rumors and speculation, but real information, do me a favor and leave it in the comments section. That would be great, and we can share information together. All right, well, let's move on to question number 5. And the 5th question today comes to us from Sultan. It's just Sultan. And Sultan writes, "Hello, guys and gals of the best damn movie-related show on the internet. My question is, can I watch Star Wars Episode 7 without watching the original trilogy? I just can't seem to get myself to watch the original trilogy, and I know Darth is Luke's father. Thanks, and keep it up." Well, Sultan, I haven't seen Star Wars Episode 7. Nobody has. So I can't definitively say, can you watch Episode 7 and understand what it's about and understand what's happening without having previously watched the original Star Wars trilogy? Notice I'm not talking about the prequels. I almost swore. Screw them. Screw the prequels. The original Star Wars trilogy. The only true Star Wars movies. The question, but here's the thing, Sultan. It doesn't matter that you know that Luke is Darth Vader's son. Doesn't matter. They're amongst the greatest films ever made. And amongst the most influential films ever made. You talk to all the hot directors today, they will all list Star Wars amongst the things that got them inspired to be filmmakers. It's just what Star Wars is. Dude, listen to me. My friend, Sultan, listen to me. Watch the original trilogy. Bless your own heart. Bless your soul by watching the original Star Wars trilogy. It will enlighten your spirit. It will bring clarity to existence. It will make you a better man. Sultan, go watch it. Seriously, you are less of a man. You're less of a man. If you haven't seen the original Star Wars, there, I said it. I went there. Hashtag, no Star Wars, less than a man. Anyway, so no, go watch it, dude. Seriously, you'll love it. It's just the greatest thing ever put to film, in my opinion. So even though I don't know what's going on in Episode 7, I'm sure you could probably watch Episode 7 without watching Episodes 1, 2, and 3. Or the original trilogy, which are technically Episodes 4, 5, and 6. I'm sure you could, but why would you? I'm sure your viewing of Star Wars Episode 7 will be much richer having watched Star Wars Episodes 4, 5, and 6, Star Wars Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi. You'll be just enriched as a man, and your viewing experience will be enriched. Go and watch. I actually envy you. I envy you that you have not seen the original trilogy, because you get to do something now, Sultan, that I can never do again for the rest of my life. I will never again in my life be able to sit down and watch Star Wars for the first time. I'll never be able to do that again. I've already done it. A lifetime ago I did it. And I'll never be able to do that again. But you still have that awesome, precious experience ahead of you. Go watch it. All right. Let's get on to what's ultimately going to be our last question of the day. Question number 6. And question number 6 today comes to us from a gentleman by the name of E.T. And E.T. writes, "Hey, AMC crew, keep up the good work." Thanks so much, E.T. Appreciate that. My question is, In The Amazing Spider-Man 1 and 2, there's scenes on the trailers that are not in the movie. I know this happens in movies. Sometimes they're edited out of the movie final cut. My concern is, until what point studios can get away to advertise something and not show it? Thanks. You know what, E.T., it was funny because I was just talking to Ray about this. For those of you who don't know, Ray is in our chat board every day on AMC Movie Talk, and he does a lot of the post-production work for us. And Ray and I were talking earlier today because we both saw Spider-Man. I saw Spider-Man 2 for the second time last night. Ray saw it for the first time. And there's in the Spider-Man 2 trailers, there's a very pivotal, key, important scene, at least you think it is, where Dane DeHaan as Harry Osborn and Andrew Garfield as Peter Parker are sitting across the table from each other at Oscorp. And Dane DeHaan's like, Oscorp has been following you and watching, spying on you. And then it goes to Peter Parker's going, why? And then it goes back to Dane DeHaan. Isn't that the $1 million question? You know, and it gives you the feeling that there's some key important plot point in this movie and in the overall Amazing Spider-Man story that Oscorp has actually been watching Peter Parker his whole life and following him and spying on him. And now Dane DeHaan and Andrew Garfield, Harry and Peter are going to go on this mission to figure out what is it about Peter. Well, now obviously Peter will know, but what is it about Peter that has had Oscorp spying on him and investigating him all this time, right? That scene is not in the movie at all. There is no subplot of Oscorp. It's never said in the movie that Oscorp has ever been watching Peter Parker. It's not there. Now, I get it that sometimes trailers are cut before the final cut of the movie. I understand that. And sometimes, things end up in a trailer that actually don't end up being in a movie. But when you got something so key, or at least what on the surface looks so key and so important, like there's this huge major plot thread that goes on about how Oscorp has been spying on Peter his whole life. Now him and Harry know it, and they've discovered that this spy thing has been going on Peter and blah, blah, blah. That's not in the movie at all. At all. Never mentioned. And like I said, I understand sometimes certain things don't make final cut, but I also believe at some point there's got to be some responsibility on on behalf of the studios to take responsibility to not mislead the audience. Because you just told me that, hey, in this movie, Peter's fighting Electro and blah, blah, but also Peter discovers that Oscorp has been spying on him and following him. That's brought to light by his friend, Harry Osborn, who's now back in the picture, blah, blah. You sold that to me as a part of the package in your advertising, that's a part of this movie. And that is not a part of that movie. That's not in there at all. So I'm sorry. I do start to take issue. Now, like I said, little things like, that one camera angle of him throwing the punch isn't in there. That doesn't matter. But you got a trailer here that is really misleading us as far as to what appeared to be a major plot point in this story, and it's not even in the film. And at that point, I'm going to suggest you are getting close to that line of false advertising, because now you're telling me about a movie, and then you're going to give me a movie that's completely different, because that whole storyline, that whole story thread isn't even there. And you marketed to me that it is in there, and now it's not there. So I think when it's something that big and that important, like imagine, I liken it onto this. Now think about this for a second. I liken it onto, like, say a new trailer for the new Transformers movie came out. And in the trailer, they show you certain things, but then you see Optimus Prime fighting Starscream. And Starscream says in the fight, "When I destroy you, the crown of the Decepticons will be mine." Okay, then it comes to other stuff. Now we're like, so one of the big plot points in the new Transformers movie is that somehow Starscream returns and he's making a play for the leadership of the Decepticons by going after Optimus Prime. Oh my gosh, I can't wait to see how this plays out. And then you go to see Transformers 4 and there is no Starscream and there is no plan of his to take the leadership from the Decepticons from Megatron or anybody else who might still be alive, or Unicron, whatever. It's just not there. That's what this is like to me. And I think you're right. I think at some point the studios have to take a little bit of responsibility and realize, hey, we need to change. Hey, look, if we made a major change in the movie, then we need to go back and change up that marketing because we're selling false goods to the audience. So I think that is an issue. Anyway, folks, that'll do it for me. I'm all out of time here today and all out of questions. Thank you so much for joining me for this installment of AMC Mailbag. Once again, I remind you, keep your eye open for that new show that we're going to be doing, just a weekend summary of the top stories of the week called AMC Movie News Top 5. We're going to debut that this weekend here on our AMC YouTube channel. And also on Sunday, we'll be airing our brand new part 1 of our new series, AMC Jedi Council, where all we're doing, the subtitle for it is Star Wars Talk for Star Wars fans. And I'm super stoked about that. So please make sure you join us for that. So that'll do it for me, guys. Again, thank you so much. Keep sending in your questions to us. By the way, guys, if you don't know where to send in your mailbag questions, email them to us at amcmovietalk@gmail.com. So you can send those to us there, and maybe we'll get them on the Weekend Mailbag Show. Maybe we'll use them on our Monday through Friday AMC Movie Talk show, or maybe we won't get to them at all, but we will do our best. Send them in, and maybe your question will be on there. And to remind you, don't forget, lots of great films playing in AMC theaters right now. You might want to go out and check out The Amazing Spider-Man 2. Going over to www.amctheaters.com for your theater, showtime, and movie ticket information. And don't forget, you can follow us on Twitter as well. Follow us on Twitter at AMC Movie News. And you can tweet in questions there too, Monday through Friday. And we might take your Twitter questions on our AMC Movie Talk show. And of course, you can follow me on all the various social media channels, just at John Campea. So thanks a lot for joining me, guys. My name's John Campea for AMC Movie News. And until next time, bye-bye.
Hey everyone, if you liked this video, click that thumbs up button and make sure to subscribe to our AMC Movie News YouTube channel. It's free and helps you stay up to date with all the latest movie news, as well as our daily AMC Movie Talk show. Also, make sure that you follow us on Facebook and Twitter to stay up to date with all of our special promotions, contests, and prize giveaways.